it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to West Virginia. Today we head to the Summit Point Raceway in sunny West Virginia. Today we'll be taking around 45 minutes of this tricky track. Only 13 bends for drivers to conquer through this one, and that will be some tough racing. I'm Jake Cameron, along in the booth with me today I have Cam Walsh. Good evening, Cam.
Good evening, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, not too bad. What do you think of this so far? Just watching out qualifying at the moment, and there's some already real quick laps coming down from the GT guys that are now in their 5-minute session of qualifying.
Yes, it's all going very well so far. I think it's just really interesting to have so many different cars on track, but it's good that they have their own team with the GT. Really happy to see times are very similar throughout the field.
Yeah, there is some very similar times up there for the GT cars. Just to run you through the specs of the cars in this absolute beginners racing league, this is round 6 of the 7 rounds, so the penultimate round nearly, for drivers to pick up them vital team championship points. We have in the GTR class, we have the Ford GT with 70% fuel. Along with that will be the Cadillac CTS with 65% fuel. The GTO class will be the Kia Optima with only 70% fuel, and then in the GTS class we have the MX-5 Cup car with 35% fuel, and then also the Spec Racer Ford with 45% fuel. So they're your 3 current classes in this event, and we've seen some great racing, especially at Watkins Glen, Charlotte and Laguna Seca. It's really proved some very entertaining racing, hasn't it, Cam?
Well, it's been a good season so far, and I think they've been doing very good. Summit Point, I think, is going to be interesting, just like Watkins Glen. It's a classic track, but it's very tight here.
Yes, very tight it is indeed, so drivers will have to be making that pass absolutely pitch perfect if they're going to need to get by a slower car in front. And also in GT and slower class racing, we'll see that driver etiquette come into play as well, where people will just be allowing that slower driver to move out the way or to stick onto his racing line and allow that faster car through, and they will be seeing a lot of that in this race today. But looking through the qualifying times, as now it is a free track session, 5-minute sessions for each cars, and then you will get the 5-minute free track time, which we have got now, with just 2 minutes left in the qualifying session. Currently at the top, we see Billy Smith with a 109.511. He is part of that GT class, and he will be racing the Spec Racer Ford, the Cadillac CTS today. Also John Elmer just marginally behind him with a 109.599, so very close times between them guys, before we then get back to Carl Pitsen, who has a 110.388. So they're your top 3 drivers so far on the qualifying board, with just 2 minutes left to run on the play clock. What do you reckon to them times then, Cam? Quite quick, aren't they?
Well, it's extremely fast as far as I can say in a Cadillac. I've never been a fast driver here, so to see these guys rocking this track like this, it's going to be interesting when it gets a lot of traffic on, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, it will be very interesting when we have all 28 cars fighting out for that one spot at the top of their class. We're just going to head to a short commercial break before we come back with you for the grid, and we shall be back in just under a minute.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Absolute Winners Racing round number 6 of their second season. We're at Summit Point Raceway and qualifying has just finished now, as drivers will now take to the grid to line up in this one just as we run through your starting field. On the pole position with a lap time of 109.551, incredible time there from Billy Smith. He will take the pole position with teammate John Ulmer on the outside of him. Row number 2 will see Carl Pitson and Tony Hayes line up on the outside. Row number 3, Marcus Kramer and Gregory Nutley. And then the last of the GTR guys will be Daniel Snortland and Jimmy Effling. Now we see the second classes, which will be the Kia Optima car, and that will be in the GTO. Taking the very, very quick lap, shall we say, in that one, Cam, is John van der Belde, a 114.343, which is very fast for a Kia around here, don't you think?
Yes, it's extremely impressive to be that close to the Cadillacs. I think normally there's quite a gap between the Cadillacs and the Kias in the series, but in this race there's going to be some good disparities, so it should be good.
It should be good indeed. Lining up on the outside of him, though, will be Gordon Wilson, and that will be the front row of your GTO class. The second row, Andy Corkill and David J. Henry, and at the back of that class we'll see Robert Grant. Only 5 cars in that GTO class, so it's going to be some close racing between them 5 guys in this one. Going on to the next group, we have Adam Bradshaw, who will take pole for the Mazda MX-5 and the Spec Racer Ford in the GTS class. He will then be lined up on the outside by Arthur Chan. Liam Quinn will then follow him on the second row inside for that class. John Brownie will then take to the outside. Wojtek Proshadek is then on to row number 3 of that class, with Brett Tosin on the outside of him, Martin Jensen, Vincent Brenham, Gail Hardin, Kenneth Roberts, Jesse T. Fowler, the rest of your qualifiers in this one. Towards the back though, we see guys that have not decided to put in a lap time, and they will be starting at the back, and that is actually 4 GTR cars in this one, Cam. That's very surprising to see 4 of them guys not taking to the grid to qualify.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's a smart move to see if you can't miss any wrecks or if they just missed qualifying or didn't have the setup right, but it should be interesting to see how aggressive these guys are to go through the field.
Yeah, they will have to be very aggressive to get through that GTS and the GTO class from the back of this one. But also we do see a GTO car not starting in that, and that will be Andy Morgan. He will not make his way onto the raceway for the start of this one. Very unfortunate for him. So in total, we will see 26 cars line up for round number 6 of Absolute Beginners Racing League. So who's your favourite in this one then, Cam? Who's your money down on?
Well, I think Billy's on pole, but it could be a give-up between both him and John. They're both in the same team, and I believe that they should have a pretty good shot at getting this here at Summit Point.
There we go, we've had Cam's prediction, and I'm going to have to put my money down onto someone outside in the 4GT. Tony Hayes, the quickest there in the 4GT, only a second off of Billy Smith's time, and in a 4GT to do that, you've got to be giving it some, and maybe that 4GT will show a little better as we go through the race stints. We're expecting drivers to have to make one pit stop in this event, as they will need to take tyres and some virtual Sunoco race fuel. Just as drivers now make their way through the final few sets of turns, they'll now come out of turn number 9, then down into turn number 10, that long right-hander back onto the home start straight. And that is where the pace car will pull away, and that is where the pace will be handed over to Billy Smith, and then we shall get the drop of the green flag. As we say that, the pace car will now pull into pit road, and the pace is now controlled by Billy Smith. Green flag, we're away and racing there. Great start from Billy Smith, getting that jump over his teammate John Ulmer there, already to start with in this long run down into turn number 1. That right-hander under braking. Driver's going to have to be very careful throughout the whole field here. John Ulmer makes it through there as well with Billy Smith. Carl Pitson makes it through. Then we have a spinner out towards the back. I have to get a look at that. That's going to be...
That's Tony Hayes.
Tony Hayes, and my favourite there, already going around in turn number 1, so that's not a good position for me. Everyone else seemed to be making it through okay though, but Tony Hayes now sits right at the back of this one. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get back up there. But Billy Smith still leads the way from his teammate John Ulmer now as they work their way into turn number 3. Ulmer up the inside of him though, already trying to make that move into turn number 5, then into turn number 6. Seems to be all over the back of that 901 car, sorry, as he now works their way through turn number 7 into turn number 8, and then into this long back stretch down into turn number 10, and that will nearly complete our first lap in this one. But looking down to the GTO class as well, John van der Velde already pulling out a gap over Gordon Wilson in this one, as we see drivers already starting to pit in. That's Wojtek Brzezski there. He'll take the first early pit stop in this one in the Mazda GT car. There's some great racing already, Cam, only on lap number 1 as we now get that under the way.
Yeah, I believe everything got away really clean. I ended up looking up at Tony, which is just too bad that he ended up spinning out there. It looks like the Cadillac in front of him was just gotten on the brakes a little earlier than he had, and he ended up pulling off to the left and spinning her out in the gravel, which is too bad. But the Kias seem to have gotten away cleanly, and the MX-5s and the Spec Racer Fords are putting on the show that they always do.
Yeah, putting on a great show as always. Even when you watch the Mazda Cup on iRacing, they always put on a decent show, and there's always action between them all. But looking now to Tony Hayes, he's already got his way through a majority of the GTS racing field, sorry. And he has actually managed to make his way past one of the GTO cars. This is going to confuse me today, Cam, with all these GTO classes. I'm going to get tongue-tied. I don't know about you.
Well, it's an interesting car combination, but I think I'll just call them what they are. The Ford GT that Tony's got, he's been ripping right through, and he's already almost closing up on, who's that in front of him? Darren Kuhn, and he should be up to him soon. I think Tony's going to have a really good charge up ahead. He should be able to recover.
Yeah, he shall have a very good lead, a very good battle with him, but we go back now to the battle for the race lead again between Billy Smith and John Ulmer. Ulmer all over the back of Billy Smith again as they now come onto turn number 3, onto lap number 3. But looking back through the field as well, we also have got a battle going on for the GTO lead. Gordon Wilson all over the back of John van der Velde. That's the same area where Ulmer was trying to attack Billy Smith a lap ago. As he's not going to be able to get that up the inside there. That's through turn number 4. They now get this long straight down into turn number 5, but then through the second set of turns, which is 6 and 7, then following by 8 and 9 before they come onto that long backhill stretch. As Wilson makes a dive to the inside, he's not going to be able to get it done there. He now actually loses a bit of time, but they're still gaining on the top of Andy Corkill and David J. Henry. But looking back to the GTO class as well, Cam, what can you say about these? These have been having a very good battle all the way from the start, and also a Spec Racer Ford in there.
Yes, the Spec Racer Ford's doing a pretty good show here. He's getting right behind, he's actually going on the inside of, who is that? The white MX-5 there. The Spec Racer Ford is putting a lot of pressure on this MX-5, because I think they made contact there going into that corner, as Adam Bradshaw there makes it through. And going up front there, Billy Smith and John Oldmer. What's really impressive, they're fighting each other, yet they're pulling away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, that is really interesting to watch by that, as we now actually have Spec Racer Ford is leading the way in the GTS class. He's not got a match for Liam Quinn at the moment. Will he be able to answer any questions of Adam Bradshaw? He seems to be very fast in that Spec Racer Ford, and he seems to be the only one that can keep it with the Mazda guys at the moment, so he must be putting down a lot of practice there, as we actually see, I think that's Arthur Chan run very wide on the exit of turn number 9 as they now pass the pit lane, come down through the home straight, and that will be lap number 4. They're now onto their way, so very good racing from these guys. That's about the top 8 actually in that class, all fighting for the lead, as we see Arthur Chan trying to go around the outside of Adam Bradshaw. Is he going to be able to make that move work into turn number 1? No, he's not. We also see there Liam Quinn trying to lose out there to Wojtek Pozetsky, I think that is there, so very unfortunate for him. He's not able to get that move done around the outside. Adam Bradshaw, though, is not going to give in easily in that Spec Racer Ford as they come down into turn number 3. Arthur Chan couldn't get by there as the Spec Racer Ford of Adam Bradshaw runs very wide, but some great racing going on. What's going on throughout the rest of the field, Cam?
Well, right now, John and Billy, actually John Ulmer seems to have gotten ahead of Billy Smith. I don't know what happened. That could have been with traffic. I think it is with traffic, as they are stuffed full of MX-5s and Spec Racer Fords now, as 2 of them split the 2 front runners. Kyle Pitson's running 5 seconds behind, and the GTOs are now fully in traffic.
There's some great racing going out in front as they do manage to just get around that GTS racing cars, as we now actually see John Ulmer closing onto the back of that GTS, fighting for the leaders. He's got an actual spinner in front of him. Just managed to avoid it, and Billy Smith there's not going to be able to avoid it. We'll get a replay of that on your screens, and that was actually John Brown, who he's actually collected. And that's then caused another crash there on the exit of turn number 3. No, turn number 3, turn number 9, sorry. That's Brett Tozen also getting involved in that one. We'll get a replay of that on your screens now, as we just see got very out of shape on Brown there. He wasn't able to control the car, and Billy Smith had nowhere to go, and he had to just unfortunately hit them. Then Brett Townsend came in, and he had nowhere to go either, as we go for a replay on board now with Billy Smith.
Yeah, it's just purely unfortunate. I think John Ulmer got behind that Spec Racer Ford, and they made contact, and after that contact, that Spec Racer Ford got loose, and Billy just had nowhere to go on this tight track. Very unfortunate to have a fight for the lead end that way, but John seems to have gotten away somewhat clearly, and unfortunately for the Spec Racer Ford there, that's a lot of damage he's going to have to come back from.
Yeah, Billy Smith actually now in pit road as well. We'll just see what sort of pit time he will be having. Will he retire that car? No, he's actually still just sitting there. So we're going to see where John Ulmer is, as he's actually now working his way through turn number 9. So Billy Smith could actually get lapped here. So that's very unfortunate for him. He was our pole sitter, of course, and unfortunate events do happen when racing with different classes. But we now go back to this battle now for the GTS. The race lead, Adam Bradshaw will still lead the way from Arthur Chan, and then Liam Quinn and Wojtek Pozek with Brian Herring in 5th in that one, as they have actually got a lead lap car. That is Kyle Pitson, 2nd now in the GTR class. He's managed to make his way and pick his way through. He's also got Marcus Kramer all over the back of him now as they come down into turn number 1. Will Marcus try and make a move to the inside? No, that's very well held there by Carl Pitson into that turn number 1. He doesn't even run wide to give Hummer an even tiny bit of a chance on the exit of that turn number 1 there, Cam.
Yes, this is one of those things we were talking about between the GT40 and the Cadillac. They're actually racing very well on this track. I think Marcus might have him on the straight, but Kyle is doing a very good job of keeping that Cadillac very wide.
We now go back just to look at now Tony Hayes. Where has he been able to get up through this field? He's actually managed to get past fellow GTR racer Darren Kewen, and he's now actually making his way past David J. Henry in that Kia Optima in the GTO class. So very good from him to work his way all the way from the back up to 10th overall, and that is actually 7th in his class. So very good racing from him. He's obviously had the help from Billy Smith crashing out, and also Darren Kewen just allowing him past on the earlier lap. So some good racing by him. But we go back to the battle out front, and that's still going on between Kyle Pitson and Marcus Kramer. This is something that could be going throughout the whole of this race, Cam.
Yes, I thought the GT had a lot more power going on in the straight, but they seem to be very evenly matched, so it's going to be very interesting to see how Marcus uses the differences in his car to see if he can get past Kyle Pitson in the different car. That's why they have the different cars here. It's always very interesting to see how these drivers make these things work.
Yeah, drivers do always try different things to get around people here, and that is something we're trying to see Marcus Kramer do, but he's just been left actually now by Kyle Pitson as they work their way into that turn number 4, into that middle set of bends. Looking through the field though, John van der Brelde seems to have pulled that gap out over Gordon Wilson. Wilson seems to not have any answers to van der Belde's questions he's been asking of Wilson, as he now actually overtakes that battle there for the GTS racing class as well, and that is Adam Bradshaw and Arthur Chan. They've actually managed to pull away from Liam Quinn and Wojtek Projecki and Martin Jensen. So Cam, that's an interesting battle that's been happening throughout this field, and they've actually managed to get the pace down.
Well, every class has been doing good in keeping each other in check, but now everybody's getting in traffic. Kia's getting through traffic, which I think is going to be a lot more difficult, especially here to get through the MX-5s and the Spec Racer Fords. As we're looking at Gordon Wilson, he's pretty much getting left behind by the MX-5 and the Spec Racer Ford. That's Adam Bradshaw and Arthur Chan in front of him. So this is interesting in the Kia field how it's all going to split up.
Yeah, it is very interesting. David J. Henry sits 3rd in that Kia class still, but he's coming under pressure from Darren Kewen, who started at the back in that Ford GT. He's just slowly making his way through the field, and he will now move up into that 10th position just as he goes past that Kia Optima on the home straight, as David J. Henry also passes Wojtek Projecki in that number 28. I would say what team it is, but I can't actually see, so that's no good from my perspective. But looking back out front though, John Elmer seems to have this race summed up within the first 15 minutes.
Well, he's gotten the power down. He had that unfortunate contact with that Spec Racer Ford car, but and of course, which ended Billy's races. Billy, I believe, is 4 laps down now. He's definitely out of the picture. But we'll see if John takes it a little more easily through the traffic now, a little more careful now that he's got a 10-second lap between him and Kyle Pitson, who is still under pressure from Marcus Kramer.
You say under pressure though, that's actually now stretched out to 3 seconds on the raceway, so Kyle Pitson definitely putting the power down there. Maybe there's just a bit of fuel saving coming in from Marcus, and maybe he's just losing a bit of tyres though. But we still got Kyle going on for the 4th place in this class, and that's between a Ford GT actually and a Cadillac as well, and that's Gregory Nutley, who currently sits in 4th, and then Daniel Snortland. Am I pronouncing that right, Snortland?
That sounds about right to me. I don't know, actually.
Well,
don't ask the American. Let me tell you, out of all of the people to ask for last names, the American is not the way to go, because I butcher everything.
Well, you're not the only one. Us English seem to do the same thing as well, but we'll just keep calling him Daniel, I think, in that number 13 car, as he's actually all over the back of that Cadillac of Gregory and Nutley as they come down through turn number 9 onto that long back straightaway. He'll be in the tow as they work their way down to turn number 10. He'll move to the inside as Gregory there actually cuts his nose off in that Ford GT. Both are hard on the brakes into turn number 10. They now come down onto that home finish line. No one opting to pit yet, just as we're now 15 minutes into this event. But look at this, Daniel all up the inside as they come down the home straight. Will he be able to get this pass done into turn number 1? Gregory, very hard defensive block in there into turn number 1, if that's what we can call it, Cam. What's your opinion on that block?
That might have been... Oh, they just went past the Spec Racer Ford that spun out, but I think that was a little naughty. He dragged it over to the right, and I think he brought it over just in time to not catch the ire of the Stewarts, but we'll let them make that, as there are 2 cars off. I almost wonder if they made contact, an MX-5 and a Spec Racer Ford.
We'll have to find a replay of that for you, and I think that was actually Nathan Roberts who was the car in the gravel trap on the exit of turn number 2. So we'll get a replay of that on your screens if we can find it, and maybe Hugo Luis can use his special tactics as we actually get a replay of that on your screen, as we just see the race leaders of that class come flying by. But back out front, John Elmer doing everything he can at the moment, and something we've not really spoke about currently, Cam, is lap times. We're looking at the lap times of John Elmer. His quickest lap time so far, a 109.841, and that was set on lap number 3 when he was actually battling with Billy Smith. His current lap times are 111.943, and that was his last lap by. So his times really have decreased. If you just have a look at Kyle Pitson's laps as well, and his quickest lap was on lap number 2 as well, a 110.548. So maybe that tells us something about these Cadillac GTs, that their tyres do drop off a lot earlier.
Well, they are noticeable, but even in real GT racing, your fastest laps are always going to be the first ones because there's traffic. I'm very impressed to see John Ulmer doing simply qualifying laps right in the opening thing. That's why him and Billy were able to completely pull away from Kyle and Marcus.
Yeah, they were able to just pull away really, and that was something that them guys did obviously have on that fresher set of tyres. But Marcus Kremer still seems to be dropping back off the back of Carl Pitson. That gap now up to 3.4 seconds on the raceway, as he's now coming under pressure from Gregory Nutley, who seems to be closing in as he now just works his way past 2 slower GTS cars. That's Liam Quinn and Wojtek Przecki, who actually are still fighting for that 3rd position in the WTS class, as we now go back to the race lead of that. Adam Bradshaw will still lead the way in that lovely Irish painted scheme. Whether he is actually from Ireland, I take that as a yes, being part of the UK&I club, so he's definitely supporting that Irish livery as he now gets passed by Marcus Kremer into turn number 1.
He's just been doing a good job pulling a gap in that MX-5. I haven't actually seen the Spec Racer Fords in the MX-5 race like this before, and it's very interesting how they're doing the same lap times. Nobody's pulling away from anybody, and I think Adam Bradshaw has definitely got the setup and the skill here at Summit Point.
Yeah, Bradshaw definitely seemed to have a very good setup, as the gap now sits at about 1.2 seconds on the raceway. We'll have to get official confirmation on that gap for you, but he seems to be doing a very, very good job of just holding that gap between him and Arthur Chan, as I actually think I've just heard some contact on the raceway, or is it just my sensitive ears? No, there was Gregory Nutley and Marcus. Is it Marcus? No, Daniel Snort, sorry, actually did get a little coming together in that middle set of turns. That was through turn 7 and 8, just a little bit of bumper rubbing going on, as Daniel now all over the back of Gregory Nutley again as they come out of turn number 10. What lap do you reckon the drivers are going to move then and take their first pit stop down onto pit road, Cam?
Well, I don't... the fuel estimations are always going to be different. They have different percentages for their different fuel tanks. I think the window is going to be in the next 10 to 15 probably. It's a 45-minute race, and you want as little fuel as possible at the end of the race. So should be... I don't know when the windows are going to be for the different classes, but I think the front runners should be in within the next 10.
Okay, just now as we near onto the halfway stage in this race now, as we actually do see 28 minutes just left on the play clock for these drivers to try and make a move and get their positions done and dusted. Maybe get a further gap out front like John Elmer now has done. He's stretched that gap to a 10.609 seconds between him and the 314 of Carl Pitson. The second battle really going on in this race is between Gregory Nutley and Daniel Snortland. They're all fighting for that 5th position and should we say last point scoring position, because 1st down to 5th do score the best points. Then when you go 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, that's where the points do start to deteriorate for you, as we now watch Daniel try and make a move to the inside into turn number 1 again on Nutley, but Nutley is going to defend that inside line again. Very hard defensive block, and as there is actually a big incident there into turn number 1, and that's Robert Garan in the number 16 Kia Optima. He's actually got it round. We'll have to get a replay of that on your screens. I think Marcus Kramer was also involved there, as Gregory Nutley and Daniel Snortland seem to be closing in onto the back of him now, and Andy Corkill could have been involved as well. Cam, did you see what happened?
I didn't see what happened to the Kia, but it's pretty close. He was just getting off the track with that rear end as Gregory and Daniel went by, so thankfully nothing went back there, but I think it'd be pretty easy for an SRF and a Kia to get into contact going into turn 1. So we'd have to see the replay.
Yeah, we did just get a replay of that on your screens, and it did just seem like a little bit of contact down into turn number 1. A racing incident, but that's going to bring up and hot up the battle for this P3 position now in the GTR classes. Marcus Kramer has lost a lot of time out to Gregory Nutley and Daniel Snortfield in that P4 and P5 positions as they now come through turn number 9, just passing Andy Corkill in that Kia Optima. He currently sits in that 5th position in the Kia Optima class, the GTO racing class. Still leading that class though is John van der Belde, and seems to have a very big gap now over Gordon Wilson. It's nearly 10 seconds on the raceway, so he's got a lot of work to do, like he did at Watkins Glen, if he wants to come back forward and through to the front of that Kia Optima field. But what an incredible gap we have here in the GTS class though, Cam. Adam Bradshaw, he's nearly got a 5-second advantage over Arthur Chan now.
Yes, I mean, we talk about 10-second gaps in the GT cars, but when you get into these slower cars, the SRF and the MX-5, the gaps, it's magnified. 5 seconds is it's a mile between these two cars. He's doing an absolute phenomenal job going through this track right now. And I think he's probably doing better in letting the faster cars get through.
Yeah, he is making a very easy job of this so far, as we've still got that battle going on for 3rd in the GTS class as well, and that's between Liam Quinn and Wojtek Pajeski again, as they're trying to allow Jimmy Ething through, and that's something you shouldn't generally do. You should just let the faster car move through instead of coming off your line, because sometimes that GTR car will make a move to the inside, and you move off your line, it's going to end both your races, isn't it, Cam?
Yes, it is. Communication is very important. It's just sending the message with your car is even more important, as Liam Quinn and Wojak. This is a very, very exciting race to watch. Thankfully, the GTR car was able to get through without much trouble, but now they're going to have a slower Kia to deal with. This has definitely been a good fight so far.
Yeah, it definitely has been an incredible fight going on between these guys so far. As we now go back to the front now, as we still see John Ulmer out in front. He's stretched that lead now to 12.54 seconds on the raceway, so an incredible gap from him over Carl Pitson, and Pitson's not really had any answers to the questions of John Ulmer so far, as we're about to head to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with you just after these short messages. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round number 6 of Absolute Beginners Racing League. We're at Summit Point Raceway, where currently John Ulmer is leading the way in the GTR class, and he has been completely dominant. The current race leader of our GTO class is John van der Belde, who has also been very dominant over his second place guy, Jordan Wilson. But towards the GTS class, we've been seeing some very interesting racing, haven't we, Cam, between Adam Bradshaw and Arthur Chan. Also, Wojtek Pajeski, who's actually managed to get in by herself by Liam Quinn, who is actually our first of the movers to pit road.
Yes, he's in the MX-5 there. Also going into the pits is Gregor Nutley went into the pits in the Cadillac car in the GTR class, so maybe he's trying to undercut, try to get a couple positions, but it's interesting to see where they make the decisions to go into the pits, as that fuel weight, I think, has a little bit to do with the handling of the car here at Summer Point, as it is a very tight track.
Yeah, it is a very tight track indeed, Cam, as you watch out to see who will actually pit next time by. If we then get that break and we see if our race leader comes down, that's when we can then start to see all the rest of the guys come through and go down to pit road. As we actually look at the GTR racing class now, we actually see Daniel Snortland and Marcus Kramer. They've switched positions in this one now. Snortland's managed to make his way past Kramer and move into third of the GTR class as they now lap that 207 car of Tony Haynes, who had that unfortunate incident into turn number 1. He started very high up on the grid. He started 4th on that grid and he just got squeezed out to the outside lane, hit the grass and turned his car around, so very unfortunate for him. But we are really starting to see some drivers budge now, as I think we've now got onto the radio that our race leader will be coming down this time by, so we'll have to just keep our eyes on that. Now comes down through turn number 9. Will he come into the pit lane this time by? No, he won't. He'll stay out again and do another lap, as we just have passed halfway in this race. 25 minutes on the play clock, Cam. Anyone's race really in the second 2 classes and fighting for the top 2 positions, but John Ulmer really has summed this race up for you as dominant so far.
Well, he's able to pretty much pull away at will, which is very impressive to see. Again, a 15-second lead between him and the Cadillac behind him of Kyle Pitson. And so it'll be interesting to see. I think he's got a very good shot at winning. It's just a matter of if he gets behind more SRF traffic and he makes some contact, because contact, of course, is what ruined Billy's race, Billy Smith, his teammate's race, with contact with it, unfortunately, with another SRF. So if he can keep his nose clean, he's definitely got this.
Yeah, he will definitely have this if you say he can keep his nose clean. And just talking about Billy Smith, we will actually run through the guys that are currently out of this race. We have Jesse T. Fowler, who has fallen short in this one, Billy Smith as well in that incident. Gail Hardin, Brett Tosin is still out on the raceway, but he's classified in 23rd position overall, and that is in the 10th spot of the GTS racing class though. But he should be able to pass Kenneth Roberts, who has actually retired from this race after that spin into turn number 1 into the tyre barrier. He retired from this one on the 7 laps down. But Brian Herring is our last of the cars running. He has currently scored 5 laps down from our race leader, but he currently sits in the 9th position in this event. So nice to see drivers still going around and not retiring their car, Cam, and nice to see some real clean racing so far.
It has been clean. There have been a couple of scary moments with the faster cars going through the slower cars, but those are probably more exciting moments as they're giving heart attacks to each other. But overall, it's been very clean. I think these slower cars now have, with this being so many rounds in, they're experienced in letting the faster guys through, and it's showing here at Summit Point.
Yeah, it is really starting to show. Now we are coming into the penultimate rounds, and I'm not too sure on where our last round is actually at, but I think it's going to be Spa, where it will be very, very interesting for drivers to see if they can make 90 minutes of endurance racing around there. That will be one to watch next Sunday here at 8:40 GMT, British Summertime, or 7:30 GMT. That's when we will be coming to you next with the Absolute Beginners Racing League, and that shall be live from Spa. And unfortunately we don't actually have the current point standings, thanks to our race director Hugo Luis. He's not been able to get hold of them, so we can't actually tell you who currently sits at the top of the championship. If any of you guys do have a link, then please do feel free to drop it in the comments, or any questions you would like to be asked or answered, then please do feel free to drop a comment or any opinion you'd like into the message box on YouTube, as we now go back to the racing, as we have still not seen anyone budge to the pit lane from that top 3 in the GTR class, Cam.
Yes, it's very interesting. Like I said, you asked me about 20 minutes in how long I felt. It's getting to the window where I thought they would have already come in, so they're obviously running these cars absolutely bone dry and then putting as little fuel as possible into it, which is a smart way to do it, obviously. But the top 4 haven't, and I'm not sure if it's the only one to go into the pits, but Gregory Nutley so far has been the only one that I've seen go into the pits in the GTR class.
So he is the only one, and he's actually running in the 5th position currently on the overall standings and obviously in that GTR class. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do. Maybe that early pit stop, he's 48 seconds behind our race leader, could gain him some pace. It's an average of about 25 seconds down this long pit road at Summit Point Raceway. As we actually now do see Marcus Kremer on pit, and we also see our GTO race leader currently of Gordon Wilson come down on pit road. He took in the lead from John van der Velde when he did come down onto pit road, so Wilson will now be in. We'll get that pit stop timer up on your screens for you. It's going to be a very quick stop though. He's just in now. He takes some virtual race tyres and also that virtual Sunoco race fuel, and then he'll be straight out of the pits to try and contest a race lead with Johan van der Velde. Sorry about that on the pronunciation, as Van der Velde actually now comes around through turn number 10 onto the home straight. Gordon Wilson still sitting in pit lane. Unfortunately, he won't be able to make it out in front. As we actually see another Kia Optima there as well being able to come past, and that's Robert Grant. So here Robert Grant moves up into the second position in this Kia Optima race, shall we say, the GTO. So very good strategies coming out from Robert in this one, Cam.
Yes, he's done a very good job moving up to the field. He's now, obviously, he's 10th overall, second in his class, as this pit stop for Gordon Wilson is taking a very long time. Do these normally take this long, Jake?
I'm not too sure. I don't generally race the Kia Optima, so I wouldn't be 100% sure. He seems to... There he goes, he's now coming out. So maybe that could have just been a fuel strategy, or maybe he's not got enough fuel to make it to the end, so he thought he'd sit there for a little longer and top up to the max. But that's a very strange call from him there. I've never seen a car sit that long in the pit road, as he's actually now gone 2 laps down onto our race leader of John Elmer as he now works his way through the middle sections of the bends, and I'm still surprised that we haven't seen him come down pit road yet. Maybe he's running that longer stint for the first half of this race. But Tony Haynes now back up with Jimmy Effling in this event. He's now only a lap down from his class leader. That's very good racing from him to come through to nearly the back of the GTR racing class, as we now actually have a look at the GTS racing car class as well, and it still seems to be the same familiar faces out front of Adam Bradshaw, as we actually now see him come down pit road. Will Arthur Chang budge as well? No, he won't. Then I didn't see who that was who was actually behind him there. He didn't come down pit road either. Carl Pizzano has come down pit road, so that will be Arthur Chan who will now take the race lead of that GTS racing class.
Yes, and it's good. It'll be interesting to see between the Spec Racer Ford and the MX-5 who can get the petrol in faster. But I think it's a good call right now. You're pretty much exactly halfway through the race. So for Adam, being in the first to go, being the first is always the most frightening thing to do, as you never know what anyone else is going to do. But I think it'll work out for him.
Being 15 minutes actually only to the end, we're more than halfway through this race. We're actually just 3/4 of the way through this race, so that only leaves a quarter of this event left for drivers to try and make that final move and get into them final positions, as we will actually see what's the final position of Adam Bradshaw next time by he comes around. But currently we do see Arthur Chang out in front of that GTS class. But looking back to the GTO battle again, John van der Velde seems to have this one summed up. There's a big gap between him and Robert Grant, and then Gordon Wilson is some seconds back, but he has got David J. Henry fighting all over the back of him, so that could be something very interesting to develop towards the last 10 minutes of this event, as we actually see Henry closing in by about a tenth there through that middle S-bend section. So he definitely seems to have a quicker car, but then Wilson seems to extend that on the exit of turn number 9 down this long straight into turn number 10. So he seems to have the better straight line speed in the Kia Optima.
Well, the car is pretty easy to set up, but at the same time, it's deceptive, because you can have a car that can go really wing it down the straight. I've raced the Kia a couple of times, so I'm no expert, but it's interesting to see that with so few actual changeable objects that they could both have such a different style of driving this front-wheel drive car, as Gordon Wilson goes off, and he will allow David J. Henry to get in front of him. That's unfortunate for Gordon.
We actually do now bring that replay up on your screens for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's just very unfortunate for Gordon Wilson. His day's just going from bad to worse. That long pit stop lost him the race lead of the GTO class, and now he's moved out of the top 3 Odiums on that step. So very unfortunate for him, as we now actually see David J. Henry working his way all over the back of Vincent Brehem in that turn number 6 now. Not going to be able to make it through there, as we actually see Gordon Wilson very, very close onto the back there of Robert Grant again. So maybe he's had a little help from Kyle Pitson in that GTR class, who's actually being held up from this one by them two guys fighting for that position in class. But very good respect from him, as he is just allowing them to fight. But that's also allowing the current car of Gregory Nutley to actually close onto the back. So this could be a fight going on here now for the P3 position, with just under 15 minutes left on the play clock as they now come down into turn number 1. Wilson will move to the outside. They also go past our current GTS race leader as well, and that's Adam Chan, as we actually see someone get very loose there into turn number 1. I think that's our David J. Henry. Yes, it is, currently sitting second in the GTO class. But he's nearly doing the same as what Gordon Wilson managed to do a lap before, but Kyle Pitson now seems to be pulling away from Gregory Nutley. But very hairy moment there for some of them drivers.
That was, well, I had to get the microphone thing off because I was biting on I was sitting on my hands here. It was a very, very scary entrance into turn 1. An MX-5 leading 2, I almost said Corvettes, leading 2 Cadillacs, followed by the other class, the 2 Kias. So very, very dramatic entry into turn 1, but thankfully everyone's got it out quite reasonably. David J. Henry, though, he got that rear in the sand and he kind of kicked his rear out, but he managed to save it, as I saw Gordon Wilson went into the pits. Or no, it was Robert Grant, excuse me, Robert Grant. While we were doing all of that, he had went into the pits and he had fueled up. He is now in 4th in class in the Kia.
As we actually see some real close battles going on in this GTS class at the moment. We see Martin Jensen defending a lot there into turn number 5, and that's from Adam Bradshaw, and Adam Bradshaw's up the inside, and there's contact made there, and that's Martin Jensen there, who gets very squirmy. Bradshaw backs off the back of him. It's just on the exit of turn number 5, as we'll get a replay up of that on your screens there, as Adam Bradshaw just apologises over the intercom there to Martin Jensen. That was a very close shave there for both of them drivers, and I think that Spec Racer Ford has now picked up a bit of damage. Very, very light car, and you make any little small touches in that, it's going to give you damage, and he's now actually got to go on the defensive from Liam Quinn into turn number 10. Quinn and Protek have actually been fighting throughout this whole event, and this is the actual battle going on here for second, as Arthur Chan has actually managed to pull a big gap, as we just see the trailing car of Jimmy Effling, I think, or Tony Hayes there in the GTR class go flying by, as we actually now see Wojtek Podetsky, I think that is, up the inside of Liam Quinn into turn number 1. Is he going to be able to hold that into turn number 1? No, he's not. He's going to be very sensible, move back into the racing line. But Adam Bradshaw goes very wide there. That allows Liam Quinn up the inside. Bradshaw leads out. Could they go 3 wide here on the exit of turn number 1? No, they won't. Bradshaw will hold the inside line into turn number 3. Got the run down there. Will he be able to hold Liam Quinn off on the outside? Your answer to that question is no, you won't. Liam Quinn cuts to the inside. Brilliant move from him. Not only that, Wojtek Podetsky's trying to go around the outside now of Adam Bradshaw as well. Down into turn number 5, sorry. He will get that move done. So that will now be Adam Bradshaw dropping down 3 places in the course of the lap, just over some small contact with Martin Jensen.
Yes, well, one mess up in your rhythm really screws you up. Martin Jensen was able to really do a really good job of wheeling that car into not spinning, because that thing really wanted to spin. Adam, I don't know if he just lost his mojo there, or that little front end damage might be giving him something, but Liam Quinn and Wojak were able to get by with 2 very aggressive moves through, which Adam did a very good job trying to protect it, but you just can't, when you're offline, you just can't keep the power down, I guess, as they all are hitting in the dirt now. Everyone is trying to put as much power down as they can, trying to keep up with each other.
Yeah, they're trying to put as much power down as they possibly can, and one guy that has put the power down coming out of pit road was Arthur Chan. While that battle was going on and them drivers were entering turn number 5, he was actually down on pit road. Took no tyres, he only took a splash of gas, so it'll be very interesting now to see if them tyres can make him to the end, or unless Martin Jensen, Liam Quinn, Wojtek Podetsky and Adam Bradshaw can now make it to the end, excuse me, and close that gap on him. That's about a 15-second gap on the raceway cam, so it's a very big gap for them have to make up, as they now just get passed by that GTR car of Marcus Kramer.
Yes, these small MX-5 cars, well, I say small, they're great cars, But a gap like that doesn't sound insurmountable in a Cadillac, but in the MX-5, it's a very long way to go. So Arthur's doing a very good job, but it's good to see everyone having been through the pits as this fight continues to heat up here between Martin Jensen, Liam Quinn, and Wojak Projak. Adam seems to have backed way off as he's picked up rear end damage now.
Very unfortunate there for Adam Bradshaw in this event, as he actually seems to be dropping back, as he actually does just get passed there by Gregory Nutley. So very unfortunate for him, as Nutley tries to make a move into turn number 10. Go ahead, Cam.
I just looked back. Adam Bradshaw got rear-ended by the Cadillac of Gregory Nutley, as that is where the SRF had gotten his damage. Adam Bradshaw going from first and controlling to now in a very damaged car and falling back. Unfortunate for him, for sure.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for him in this event, and going to be very gutted with himself. He led most of the start of this race, as we now just have under 10 minutes left on the play clock. To be exact, we do just have 6 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this event. So that should be enough for drivers to do pretty much 2, maybe 3 laps in this. So I think we could pretty much see the way these guys are standing at the moment is going to be their finishing spots, as we can't really see anything happening with the big gaps that drivers have currently got. As we see now, Martha Chang is being closed onto the back of current 4th GTR car of Marcus Kremer. He'll make that pass down that long back straight down into turn number 10. But Carl Pitson really has fallen off the back of Daniel Snortend in this one. He was right on the back of him and now seems to be nowhere to be in sight. And it's the same really with this battle for John van der Velde and Gordon Wilson that we had going on. Wilson just nowhere to be seen really now.
Yes, Wilson's fallen back for sure. That stop was really strange. I almost wonder if he put way too much fuel into it potentially, as I see his front ends are locking up once again, as Gordon's been locking them up pretty much since he's left the pits. I'm almost wondering if he didn't take tires.
Maybe that could be the reason he's dropping off then. He's not decided to take front tyres. But David Henry as well, not being able to do anything either, as we actually have a mass MX-5 battle going on here, and that's still for the 2nd place, and Adam Bradshaw actually gets up the inside there. I think that is of the Wojtek Przewski, yes, in the number 28 car. So Bradshaw now on the move again. He moves up into P4 in that class, as we actually see Liam Quinn and Martin Jensen now go side by side into turn number 3. Adam Bradshaw will just sit back off of them. Will he try to make a move? No, he won't. We see Liam Quinn there still just tucking in behind Martin Jensen. But this is a great battle going on here for the current 2nd place battle for these drivers, and we're only going to have about 2 laps to go, Cam, so very entertaining.
Well, positions 2 through 5 as Wojak goes on the outside of Adam Bradshaw. I don't know where Adam got this 2nd win, but he's managed to knuckle down, and he is trying to drag this car back to the front as he got past Wojak, and he's doing competitive times again, looking through the corners. So he's managed to wrangle it back in as he's chasing these other 2 MX-5s down, this GTS class providing very good entertainment.
Yes, they are providing some very, very great race entertainment, as the Kia Optima there. I think that is our race leader actually of the Kia Optima GTO class. Yes, it was John van der Velde just going by them lapped cars as they now come down that home straight. Adam Bradshaw will be on the inside of Liam Quinn into this turn number 1. Will Przewski try to go to the inside? No, he won't, but Bradshaw's going to go 3 wide there with the Kia Optima into turn number 1, as Liam Quinn will be able to get that held to the inside, and Bradshaw gets his nose cut off, and Przewski actually goes right out to the outside to allow that Kia Optima, I think, of Jimmy Eveling, as we have actually contact there on the exit of turn number 2, Cam.
Yes, that's Johan van der Velde. That is the actual leader. Him and Robert Grant have the same paints, so they got mixed up. Johan is having a very tough time trying to get through these cars, but there's so few time to go. Everyone is trying to push. As now behind Johan comes a GTR class car of a GT40, Jimmy Effling. So we'll see if Jimmy tries to get past the Kia here. As now everything is constricted, and now it is just one huge conical line of cars.
There, but we have a big situation at the front of this GTR class. Our race leader is currently out of fuel, being pushed home by David J. Henry in the Kia Optima. He needs to get down that pit road. He only had a 37-second lead from Carl Pitson last time by, as he now gets pushed down pit road. I don't know whether it'll be enough to get him down there. Where is Carl Pitson? He's now on the exit of turn number 8. He's now into turn number 9. I don't think Ulmer's going to be able to make it all the way down to the front of pit road. So this is a big spanner into the works in this one. Very unfortunate for John Ulmer. He's not going to be able to take any points home in this if he cannot get down onto pit road, as Kyle Pitson will now come down the pit straight, and he will now take the lead in this one, as Daniel Snortland's actually all over the back of him. So we could have a very entertaining battle here as they now come down into turn number 1 with just 2 laps remaining in this event.
Yes, John, he did get to the pits there, but that is just so unfortunate. I was wondering if he was ever going to take a pit, and he just didn't, as now Kyle Pitson is completely under attack by Daniel Snortland. Daniel, now with the fire in his eyes and the blood running through his veins there, he now knows this is for first place. And we only got, what, 3 minutes to go, 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go. So this is going to be very exciting as Kyle and Daniel are both swerving in and out of, I believe that is Wojak Prost of the MX-5, as actually looks like they're going to be coming, oh no, they're going to be coming into the battle between between Martin Jensen, Liam Quinn, Adam Branshaw, and Wojak Prost. So this is going to be very interesting here at the very end of this race.
Yeah, it's very interesting there, as Adam Bradshaw actually does allow that car of 314 cut off Kyle Pitson around, but Daniel Snortland did actually get held up in there, and Daniel Snortland did actually make his way by, as actually no, that's another blue car, sorry, on my screen, and that is actually a backmarking car of Darren Quinn, so he could play a big part in this as they now come down to take the white flag. This will be the final lap of round number 6 of the ABL Absolute Beginners Racing League. It's at Summit Point Raceway, of course. We've been turning for 36 laps, and this will be our final one, lap number 37, as drivers now come down into turn number 1. It will be Daniel Snortland trying to make a move up the inside on the exit of turn number 2. Not going to be able to get it done there. The drivers will now come down into turn number 3. Tight left-hander braking. Will he be able to get up the inside? No, he won't. Now on the exit of turn number 4. He's not got that run there, Cam, has he, into turn number 5?
No, he doesn't. He's trying to get the power down as he's going to look to go on the outside, maybe outbreak the Cadillac, but the GTR just doesn't seem to have the pure answers for the Cadillac as he gets behind very close. They almost make contact as the time is winding down for Daniel to make this pass if he wants to pass it. I don't believe he's going to have the power on the straight unless he gets the power down, which I just don't see happening in the GTR, as looking back through the field, it is also getting very packed in the GTS class.
Yeah, he gets a very good run there off of turn number 9 though. Will he be able to make anything happen into turn number 10? Pitson goes very defensive to the inside, but what can Snortland do on the exit of turn number 10? He'll get the run on the exit. Will he be able to take it to the inside? Will Pitson hold it all the way down to the line? Pitson takes the win. Great racing there. Daniel Snortland will come home in your 2nd place in the GTR racing class. Marcus Cromwell will come home in 3rd. Now we turn our attention to where is our GTO leader. He's only now starting his last lap. We turn our way to Arthur Chan. He's only now just finished as well, but we'll go to the 2nd place drivers, and that will be Martin Jensen. Liam Quinn, sorry, actually comes home in 2nd in the GTS class. Martin Jensen will come home 3rd, followed by Adam Bradshaw in 4th. Wojtek Krzyzewski in the 5th place in that class. Very entertaining racing from them as we now look out for where is our GTO class leader. He's only now making his way through turn number 6, so he has still got another 4 bends to maneuver before he can take the checkered flag, whereas Gordon Wilson has already now finished as he now crossed the line in 2nd place. Robert Grant has already crossed the line as well in that 3rd place in the GTO class racing camp. Very good racing going on from all these drivers throughout this 45-minute event.
Yes, it turned out to be very, very exciting finish. It was almost, I don't want to say scary, but it was, if somebody gave somebody not enough room, we would have had 2 race endings between the top end of the top class and the top end of the bottom class, which would have been very tragic. But thankfully, everybody's, this is what, the 6th round, they did a very, very good job of allowing everyone to go through whilst maintaining position for a very exciting finish. But I just have to feel so horrible for John Ulmer, who I guess he risked it and he thought he could run away with the fuel, and he just ran out of fuel. He must have taken a pit stop at some point. I thought I missed it, but it's just so sad to see him run out of fuel, just so close to the finish.
Yeah, obviously he didn't go around pit road, as we will now run through your final standings in this race event. Round number 6 of the Absolute Beginners at Summit Point Raceway. Taking the race win and on top of the podium step for the GTR racing class is Kyle Pitson from a very dramatic race there. Daniel Snortland will come home in your second place in the GTR class, followed by Marcus Crummer, Gregory Nutley and John Elmer round out your top 5 in the GTR racing class. Tony Haynes comes home 6th, followed by Jimmy Effling and Darren Kuhen in that 8th position. 9th overall, but first in the GTO class is John Vandervelde. Great racing from him. Led the start to finish in the GTO racing class, so that will give him some vital points in this championship. Gordon Wilson comes home in 2nd in the GTO, while Robert Grant rounds out the 3rd place spot and takes the final spot on the podium for the GTO racing class. David Henry and then Andy Corkill will round out the following cars in that class, but the class of the day, I have to say, is this GTS racing class with the Mazda and the SRF Spec Racer Ford. Incredible racing from them. Taking the top step in that class is Arthur Chan. He will be victorious here, West Virginia. Liam Quinn comes home 2nd, and the final spot of the podium goes to Martin Jensen. Just missing out though, very unfortunate, and Bradshaw, he will come home in the 4th place in that class. Wojtek Podesky will round out your top 5. Vincent Brahim, Johnny Brown, Brian Herring, Brett Trosin and Kenneth Roberts are your top 10. And then Gail Hardin, Jesse T. Fowler, Andy Morgan are your final finishes in that one. So we'll be back just after this short commercial break with hopefully what are some interviews.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Absolute Beginners round number 6 from Summit Point Raceway. We have been thoroughly spoiled by the action we have seen in this one. Carl Pitson taking the overall race victory. But we are currently actually only got one person up for interview currently at the moment, and that is our GTO race winner. So if any of the drivers are watching, or any friends of the drivers are watching, then please tell them to get their way into TeamSpeak. The IP address is ts.iracingbrazil.com.br. Come in, please join us, have an interview, and we can just hang out and chat about that race. But Johan, what an event for you. Led that class start to finish, including the pit stop as well. You weren't really under any pressure except from a little from Gordon Wilson halfway through that event. Talk us through the pressure you were sustaining.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, Gordon was pressuring me a lot. I didn't have a talk with Gordon, but I think his setup focused especially on the infield parts, because every time we were in the infield he could make up a lot of time on me, and on the straights of course I was quicker, but because he was really close to me at the beginning of the race he could use that draft to keep up with me. So yeah, it was till we first encountered some traffic that I could get some traffic between us and take a little gap, and yeah, from that moment until that moment it was really close for me, I think, and yeah, Gordon was on my tail, breathing in my neck all the time, but after that I could like create a little gap and yeah, extend it as the race progressed.
Yeah, you were coming under a bit of pressure, as you say, from Gordon Wilson, but really did lead from start to finish, and It takes a real skilled driver to do that, and was it hard work on the setup, or was it just a lot of time put into practice?
Oh, thank you. No, it was a lot of time that I put into the setup. My idea with the setup was to try to get pole, which luckily worked, and then get a setup that would give me as much speed as possible on the straight, so I wouldn't be able to get past, because kind of the only way you can overtake in the Kia is into turn 1. So if I just have the speed on the big straight, like, nobody would be able to pass me. And in the race that worked out, because Gordon, like, he was close in the opening laps every time, but he never could get those final meters to pass me. So it was mostly work on the setup that brought me this win, I think.
Yeah, some great work must have been from you on the setup, and qualifying time, you really did put in a brilliant qualifying lap, and it was a lot quicker than, shall we say, Gordon Wilson. He was 0.3 of a second back from you. So did you put in a lot of practice for qualifying as well, or was it just the race?
At the end of the practice, I did some qualifying laps, and yeah, so I just did some practice with qualifying laps before qualifying started, so that helped a lot.
It does really help a lot to put in a lot of practice, and you're the only one we've really got here at the moment, so we're going to have to drag this interview out. And what did you think of that race from a general perspective of objective view of the on track?
Well, from my view, it was a good race. Like, of course, I won and I had the speed, but also I don't know about you guys, but I didn't encounter a lot of incidents during the race itself. Also, the slower traffic and also the quicker cars, the Cadillac and the Ford GT, like, didn't cause any problems at all. And yeah, for me, it was an incident-free race. To be honest, I only saw one little incident between Jimmy Effling and John Ulmer. But apart from that, it went just really smooth. And yeah, I hope races like that every week.
Yeah, we've only got one round left of the championship, and that's Spa next Sunday. Will we be seeing you there for that one or not?
It's the week after, not next Sunday, but
is
the
it
week after that. Yeah. The next Sunday is the Proto Cup in Road Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm not not looking forward to the Proto Cup, because I'm not that yeah, I'm not doing so well on that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the last race in this championship on Spa.
Well, we haven't actually got the championship standings, so we can't show you them at the moment. But whereabouts do you sit in the championship at the moment, Johan?
I won it. I won it last time.
You've won the championship, have you? So
yeah,
there we go. It's all summed up then.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I grabbed the championship last weekend in Lime Rock, and yeah.
Congratulations. And we're actually now joined with John Elmer, and I'm going to hand this one over to you, Cam.
Alrighty, John, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty good, other than the obvious.
Well, these things kind of happen. So just take us through what went through with the strategy. Did you actually pit, or did you not? I didn't get to see you pit.
I was forced to pit after my teammate pushed me back to the pits. I knew I was getting close. I'd stopped watching my fuel. I was relying on my spotter to give me the countdown on it, but I never got it, and I just ignored it myself until the car started sputtering with a half a lap to go.
Yeah, see that when we saw it, you'd pretty much had that thing all wrapped up, and so when we saw it happening, it created quite a lot of drama. I mean, these things, they do happen, but it is just so unfortunate to have this happen right at the end of the race. But pushing that aside, you did have a great race as far as everything leading up to that. Unfortunately, you weren't able to capitalize on it, but just take us through the race before that. Did everything seem to go through?
Yeah, it was, we knew it was going to be a hectic race. We knew it was going to be a lot of traffic. Forces you into about 45 decisions every lap when you're the faster cars on the track. So trying to get through and not interrupt the other guys as much as you can, makes it kind of tough. As at the same time you're watching your own race. Unfortunately, a misjudgment on my part early in the race took my own teammate out. Actually, two of my teammates. So it kind of left me without anyone pushing me, and then I was able to just kind of cruise from there. Trying to watch my tires, things like that, and trying not to repeat some of the earlier mistakes I've made in this league so far. So, but unfortunately, I couldn't seem to pay attention to everything at once, I guess.
Well, as you said, when you are the faster car, there is a lot going on. You had three different, two classes beneath you, three different cars beneath you. So going through, Billy obviously would have pushed you as he was. You two were basically the class of the field. Was that just boiling down to a lot of practice, or did you guys work really hard on that setup in that Cadillac?
Well, we have a lot of experience in this car. I raced in the Global Challenge for 3 seasons. Billy's been racing it for quite a while. So we've worked on the setup a bit. So now we just kind of adjust it for tracks and differences in the way we like to drive. I like a little more rear brake bias. He likes a little different spring rate. But normally we have another Cadillac in here that is proven to be pretty much unbeatable this year so far in Kevin Binkley. The three of us are all similar pace, but Kevin just, he's ice cold. He doesn't make any mistakes. And so he's leading the championship. And I was hoping that with his absence today, I could kind of close that to make the closeout race, something with a lot of drama. But, unfortunately I didn't do what I needed to do. And Billy didn't end up finishing either. So.
Well, and that's very unfortunate. Now, you are going to Spa. Will you still have a chance at the championship, or is that all wrapped up by Binkley?
I'm not sure. It depends on how many points I came away with in this race and how many I end up losing on penalties. If I scored enough points, it shouldn't be out of reach. But if I would have won this race, I definitely would have had a much better chance. And I will definitely be racing in Spa. It's one of my better tracks in this car. So we're definitely going to give it everything we have and try to get there. Unfortunately, our team is not going to be able to overtake the Infinite Sports Car Series team. So we're just going to do what we can to try to get as good a finish at the end and get ready for next season.
I'll roger that, John. Well, again, it's very hard to hear that finish, but take us through some of the traffic. As you said, you're making 45 decisions a second, or a lap. Just take me through a typical lap going between MX-5s, Spec Racer 4s that are racing each other, and then the Kias.
Well, the problem when you come up on the MX-5s and the Spec Racer Fords is you're thinking so much on what you're going to do to try to get by them safely without interrupting them or throwing yourself off the track. And when they're by themselves or a group of the light cars, it's okay. The problem comes in when you're weaving through MX-5s and Spec Racer 4s one after another, because they both take very different entrances onto the turn. And sometimes, like in the case early in the race, when they swing out real wide, you're thinking, okay, they're letting me come inside. The MX-5, you don't really have that issue because MX-5 likes to hug the turns a little bit tighter, that I've noticed when we're approaching them. So you kind of have to really pay attention to which class of that slower car in those two you're coming up on. And then the Kias present a whole different challenge because with our new tire rules, we're not quite as fast as we used to be against them coming off the corners. So we have to rely on getting a run and then trying to outbrake them, and they're running almost as deep into the braking zones as we are now. So it's a whole different dynamic. And when you catch them both at the same time, that's when the fun really begins. But make no mistake, it is fun. It's a complete blast going through there. It's just you want as much as you can not to affect them.
Well, John, thank you very much, and it was a very exciting race, especially from in the commenter's perspective. Jake and I both had a great time doing the commentary, and just unfortunate you weren't able to capitalize, but we will see you at Spa, as you said. And I'll hand it over to Jake now as we interview somebody else now.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for that, John. Thanks, Cam. And we're now here with our overall race winner, and our GTR race winner, Carl Pitson. And great racing from you, Carl. You were sort of towards the middle of the GTR field, should we say, throughout that one. And then you just had that sudden spike of power, maybe on them new tyres, fresh tyres and lower fuel, was it, that you really started to push?
Yeah, I really was relying on the pit stop to get me ahead in this race, for sure. I knew I didn't have the pace at the beginning.
Well, you didn't have the pace. No, I wouldn't say that. You had the pace. It's just the guys out front, Billy Smith and John Elmer, were just incredibly fast. And how did you go about setting up for this weekend and for the race today? Did you go about a long practice session, or did you go about finding the pace for the qualifying and then the race as it come?
I mean, I actually missed all of our official pisses this week, so all of my practice was just done by myself. The setup itself is actually one of John's that he gave me for the Lime Rock race last week, so I just used that and tweaked it a little bit for this track, but not a whole lot of setup, just kind of finding the groove of the track and going from there.
So it was a great time then, really, for not much practice, but you come home with a race win, which was, would I say, unexpected or not?
Oh, absolutely. I was blown away. I mean, John's just always so fast, and I thought he had it in the bag. So, I mean, I hate to lose it the way I did. He's a great driver, but sometimes things happen, I guess.
End of the day, that is racing, though, isn't it? And you did have a few close shaves, shall we say, earlier on in that race as well, with Gregory Nutley. You were having a good race with him, and also Daniel Snort was there as well, and you were having some very close racing with them for a little while. And at one point in the race, we thought that Daniel could have actually got past you. He was pushing very, very hard into the last couple of turns, and seemed to be pulling off the stops you could to stop him from coming by.
Yeah, Daniel was driving really great today. I have never raced with him before, actually, but he put on a really good show, and it was a lot of fun to race with him. Everything was really clean, but he definitely had my heart racing the last few laps for sure.
It was just one of them races where everything fell into place for you on the day at the time of each incident, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. I definitely didn't expect to win, but it feels pretty good, and I'm glad to be racing with everybody that's in the series. They're all really nice, really great drivers.
Well, congratulations on your victory, and congratulations on the boost in points up through the championship. And that's all we have today, and that's all we have time for, unfortunately, from Absolute Beginners round number 6 at Summit Point Raceway. It's been a day of ups and downs. It's been a day of some sad stories for some drivers and some people not to put enough fuel in to make it to the end. But I've been Jake Cameron, and my co-commentator has been Cam Walsh. So from goodbye from us and Hugo Luis on the cameras, we say thank you very much for watching, and tune in 2 weeks' time where we head to Spa.